We grew up in the age of turmoil. We watched people's rights being denied because they were African Americans. We watched people not being allowed to go to schools because of their color. Counselor Evans grew up in that period of time. Period of time where black people didn't have a say, couldn't have a say. And I know there's no doubt that had a strong impact upon him.
He has this passion for people and passion for justice. So I think he draws his strength from the community which he grew up in, which is Wilmington.
George, I think, went out into his own law practice and went out on his own because he was going to be his own man, and he was not bought, and he was able to be his own man at all times, say what he wanted to say as he wanted to express it, and advocate for what he wanted to advocate for children that he thought was important.
Attorney George E. Evans worked two jobs at the same time. He worked for Chrysler in the morning, he worked for GM at night. He would come home from that night job and focus on his studies until 5 or 6 in the morning. And he would repeat that process for the next 3.5 years.
George is a product of the community. I think he understands the needs and the goals of the community. He understands the issues that people face growing up in urban cities. So I think that gives him a sense of representation better in terms of understanding what the person needs, even if you can't articulate it well.
The man spent 37.5 years as a school board member. You don't get paid for being on a school board. I think people should get paid for being on a school board, but that's 37.5 years of volunteer service.
He never missed a board meeting. I remember him telling me that he got an adjournment from court because the judge knew he had a school board meeting, so he would not miss that meeting. That's the level of dedication that he's demonstrated. That's the level of service that I will always have in my mind about him.
While George was a member of the Christina School Board, we got not one, not two, but 3 African-American female superintendents. And the fact that George, being one of 2 members on the school board that represented the city of Wilmington, was able to effectively see to it that we had 3 African-American female superintendents, I think is just phenomenal, because you had to get the other 2 votes from somewhere, and he had to convince people that they were the most qualified, that they would be an asset to all children, and he did that.
I grew up in South Carolina at a time when Thurgood was arguing for equal rights in the schools and facing extreme danger. So if anyone embodies Thurgood and what Thurgood stands for, George is a part of that philosophy. He was a part of when Lou Redding was here and had the benefits of Louis Redding tutoring and thoughts. So I think that when you think about Thurgood Marshall and the legacy he leaves for us, I think George clearly embraces that legacy.
I was in the company of both of those individuals, Mr. Evans and Mr. Redding, and I watched the exchange of them, and it was surely based on mutual respect and mutual admiration. And given the fact that Mr. Redding rewrote the history books and Mr. Evans was just an up-and-coming lawyer, I thought that was profound. So there's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Redding would be very pleased with the accomplishments Mr. Evans has achieved.